Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for another deep dive. And this time, we're tackling something that's probably on a lot of your minds. If you've got a kid who's about to make that leap from middle school to high school.
It's a big one.
Yeah, it is. It's exciting, right? New experiences, new opportunities.
Absolutely. But it comes with a whole new set of financial considerations, too.
That's what we're here to unpack today. We've got this really helpful guide all about financial planning for the specific transition from middle school to high school. And we're going to break it down. Make sure you feel ready for whatever comes your way.
You know, it's funny. A lot of families, they focus so much on the academic side of things, getting ready for high school, that they kind of forget about the financial side.
Yeah. It's easy to overlook. It's like, oh, new backpack, new notebooks, we're good. But the guide actually points out that expenses tend to jump quite a bit when a child enters high school. It even cites an average increase of like 20%.
Yeah, and it's not just about school supplies either.
Mhm.
It's a whole shift in lifestyle expectations.
Right, okay. So let's get into the specifics. The guide starts with something we all know, but maybe don't want to admit. Kids get more expensive as they get older.
It's true.
But it breaks it down into these really helpful categories. And the first one is extracurriculars, those after school activities that keep our kids busy and engaged. Well, the guide points out that those activities often become more, how should I put it?
Specialized.
Yeah, more specialized and often more expensive too.
Think about it. You've got
Mhm.
travel sports. Maybe they need more advanced music lessons, or they join some specialized club that requires, equipment or fees.
Yeah.
It all adds up.
Okay, so it's not just about the activity itself. It's the added costs that come with a more serious commitment.
Got it. Makes sense. What else does the guide highlight?
Well, something that's near and dear to my heart, school supplies and tech.
Oh, this is a big one. And we're not just talking about pencils and notebooks anymore, are we?
No way. We're talking graphing calculators,
Yep.
laptops, maybe even specialized software, depending on their courses. It's like they need their own mini mobile office. And that can be a serious investment, especially these days.
Oh, absolutely. And the guide makes it clear. Don't underestimate the tech costs.
Okay, noted. We've got extracurriculars, we've got tech. What else should we brace ourselves for?
Ah, yes. The ever-evolving world of teenage fashion.
Ah, the dreaded clothing budget.
It's real. Those growth spurts hit hard. And, clothes get worn out faster when you're a teenager.
Absolutely. And don't forget about uniforms. If the high school requires them, that's another factor to consider.
Definitely. So yeah, clothing is another area where you might see that budget increase.
Okay, so we've got potential budget increases in extracurriculars, tech, and clothing. That's a lot to juggle. But this guide isn't all doom and gloom, right? There are things we can do to prepare.
Of course. And that's where the guide really shines. It offers some great strategies, starting with the long game, savings and investments.
Music to my ears. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that.
Well, the guide really emphasizes the importance of consistent contributions to a 529 plan for college. Starting early, letting that money grow over time.
So it's not just about putting money aside, it's about harnessing the power of compound growth.
Exactly. The earlier you start, the more potential that money has to really multiply.
I like the sound of that. Okay, so we've got college savings. What about private high school? That's something a lot of families are considering these days.
And if that's on your radar, the guide is very clear. Start saving early tuition, and all the associated fees can add up quickly, and it's best to avoid those last-minute financial scrambles.
So proactive planning is key.
Absolutely.
Now, the guide also mentions something that can be a bit of a tough conversation, the emergency fund. Why is that especially important during this transition?
Well, because life happens. As we've seen, costs tend to increase during the high school years. So
No.
it's really crucial to review your emergency fund, make sure it's robust enough to cover at least 3 to 6 months of expenses.
That's a good rule of thumb in general, right?
It is. But it's especially important during this time. Think about it. You might have unexpected medical bills, car repairs, or even sudden changes in income. Having that cushion can make all the difference.
It's about peace of mind.
Exactly. It's about knowing that you're prepared for whatever comes your way.
Okay. So we're not just talking about saving for the planned expenses. It's also about having that safety net for those curveballs life throws at us. Something I'm really passionate about is empowering our kids with financial literacy. Like, it's not just about us managing the money, it's about equipping them with the skills to manage their own finances, right?
100%. And the guide has some great suggestions for this.
Okay, lay it on me.
Well, first of all, it's about starting early.
Mhm.
You don't have to wait until they're teenagers to start teaching them about money. The guide suggests tying allowance to chores or achievements.
Ooh, I like that. It's like a real world economics lesson in action.
Exactly. They learn about earning, saving, making choices. And as they get more comfortable with managing smaller amounts, the guide suggests opening a savings account in the child's name.
That's such a good idea. It gives them a sense of ownership and responsibility.
And it helps them develop those good financial habits early on. It's never too early to start.
So we've talked about budgeting, saving, and even empowering our kids with financial skills. And I feel like we've only just scratched the surface. This guide is packed with insights.
It really is. And it doesn't stop there. It encourages us to look even further ahead to high school and beyond, recognizing that this transition is just one step in a much larger journey.
I like that.
Hmm.
Let's dive into that long-term planning. What does the guide say about potential costs associated with high school?
Well, it gets pretty specific. It breaks down potential expenses for things like advanced courses like AP classes, which can come with exam fees. And it also mentions those preparatory programs like tutoring or test prep, which can be a significant investment.
Right, right. So we need to factor those in.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't talk about high school without thinking about college.
The big C word.
Exactly. The guide doesn't shy away from that either. It encourages open and honest conversations about college or even alternative paths. And not just in the senior year, it emphasizes starting those discussions early on so you have time to explore options and understand the financial implications.
Makes sense. So it's about being proactive and informed rather than waiting until the last minute when things feel rushed and potentially stressful.
Exactly. It's about giving yourselves options and making choices that align with your family's goals and values.
The guide also connects this to something I think is super important: career exploration.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about choosing a college. It's about helping your child discover their passions and interests and how those might connect to future career paths. It's all connected.
I love that this guide really is a treasure trove of financial wisdom. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground, but there's even more to unpack. We'll be right back after a quick break to delve into some additional financial considerations that you might not have thought about just yet. We're back and ready to keep digging into this super helpful guide. We've already talked about budgeting, saving, empowering our kids. It's a lot to keep in mind, but the guide doesn't stop there.
Not even close. It encourages us to think even broader, to consider some financial areas that we might not immediately associate with this transition.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What do we need to think about?
Well, one area that it highlights is retirement savings. I know it might seem a little premature to be thinking about retirement when you're focused on your child's high school journey, but it's all about balance, right?
Right, it's like that classic saying, secure your own oxygen mask before helping others.
Exactly. You got to take care of your own financial future so you can be in a better position to support your child.
So true. So we're adding retirement savings to the mix. What else does the guide flag?
Something that can be a real drain on our finances, especially when those high school and college expenses start rolling in. High interest debt.
Oh, yeah, credit cards, personal loans, things like that.
Precisely. The guide suggests that paying down that high interest debt now can free up more financial flexibility later.
Makes sense. It's like we're clearing the runway for those big expenses that are coming up.
Exactly. It's about creating some breathing room in your budget.
Okay, so we're tackling debt, we're thinking about retirement. Anything else?
The guide also mentions something that can feel a little daunting. Tax planning.
Taxes. But I guess it's important, right?
It is. And it's not about becoming a tax expert overnight. It's just about being aware of potential benefits that can help you save money.
Okay, so what should we be looking for?
The guide encourages us to explore tax credits and deductions related to childcare and education. There are actually quite a few options available, and they can make a real difference, especially when you're trying to save for college.
So it's worth doing some research.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every little bit helps. And speaking of college savings, the guide throws in a tip that might surprise some people.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Start researching scholarships even for middle schoolers.
Whoa, really? That early?
It might seem early, but there are actually quite a few scholarship opportunities available before high school.
Huh, I never would have thought of that. So it's not just about the big scholarships that come later on.
Nope. There are smaller ones out there too, and it's never too early to start planting that seed.
I love that. It gets them thinking about college in a positive way, like, hey, there's money out there to help me achieve my goals.
Exactly. It's about shifting the mindset from college is expensive to college is achievable.
This guide is incredibly thorough.
Yeah.
It even mentions something that I think often gets lost in the shuffle when we're so focused on education: planning for family vacations and activities.
Oh, yeah. That's important. It's a good reminder that creating shared memories and experiences is valuable too. It's about finding that balance between supporting your child's education and maintaining a fulfilling family life.
I'm so glad the guide brought that up because sometimes we get so caught up in the to-do list that we forget about the fun stuff.
Right. It's about making time for those moments that matter.
And I love how the guide encourages us to think about potential home upgrades as well.
It acknowledges that families might consider moving to a better school district or just need to upgrade their home to accommodate a growing teenager.
Yeah, teenagers do tend to take up more space, both physically and metaphorically.
True. So the guide emphasizes that evaluating your financial readiness for those potential home upgrades is a crucial part of this transition.
Okay, so we're factoring in things like home upgrades, vacations, family time. It's a holistic view of our finances.
Exactly. And that's what I appreciate about this guide. It's not just about numbers. It's about values, priorities, and making choices that align with your family's vision for the future.
Well said. Okay, before we move on, I want to pause and highlight something the guide emphasizes throughout. Proactive planning. Why is that so crucial?
It's about empowerment. By addressing these financial topics now, you're setting your family up for a smoother, more successful journey through high school and beyond. It's about replacing that potential stress and overwhelm with a sense of confidence and control.
I love that. We don't want to just survive this transition. We want to thrive.
Absolutely.
Ah,
And I think this guide provides the tools and insights to do just that.
well said. And remember, this guide is a fantastic resource, but it's just the starting point. It's about sparking conversations, asking the right questions, and making informed decisions that are tailored to your unique family situation.
It's about taking ownership of your financial future and feeling empowered, not overwhelmed.
Now, with all that in mind, let's shift gears a bit and explore a topic that's often overlooked but incredibly relevant: teaching our kids about financial responsibility. It's one thing for us to get our ducks in a row, but how do we pass that knowledge on to our kids?
That's where it gets really interesting. The guide goes beyond the typical save your allowance advice. It suggests having open conversations about family finances in an age-appropriate way, of course.
Okay, so we're not handing them the spreadsheets just yet, but we're not keeping them in the dark either.
Exactly. It's about explaining why you're making certain choices, whether it's cutting back on expenses or saving for a big goal.
I like that. It's about transparency, showing them that finances are a team effort. It's not just mom and dad making all the decisions behind closed doors.
Right, and the guide even suggests involving them in some of the decision-making. Maybe they can help with creating a family budget or researching different college options.
Oh, I love that. It gives them a sense of ownership and responsibility. They're not just passive recipients of financial decisions, they're active participants.
Exactly. And speaking of participation, the guide also emphasizes the importance of teaching them practical money management skills.
Okay, so we're talking budgeting, saving, smart spending, those real life skills.
Precisely. These are lifelong skills that will benefit them no matter what path they choose. And the guide acknowledges that these conversations aren't always easy.
Yeah. Finances can be a touchy subject even among adults. So how do we approach these topics with teenagers in a way that's helpful and not, lectury?
The guide suggests keeping it casual and relatable. Maybe use real-life examples from your own experiences, or even share stories about financial successes and, yes, even mistakes you've made along the way.
I love those teachable moments. It makes the whole concept of finances less intimidating and more human.
Exactly. And the guide reminds us to be patient and encouraging. Learning about finances is a process. It's okay for them to make mistakes along the way.
It's all part of the learning curve. We're not expecting them to become financial experts overnight. We're fostering a healthy and positive attitude towards money.
That's the key. It's
Yeah.
about building confidence, not fear or shame. And, this whole conversation about empowering our kids financially got me thinking, what if we extend that empowerment to other areas of their lives?
Ooh, that's a great point. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's not just about finances. It's about preparing them for a world that demands more than just academic knowledge.
They need critical thinking skills,
Yeah.
problem-solving abilities, and a sense of agency to navigate the complexities of adulting.
And those skills are developed through experience, through making decisions, and yes, even through making mistakes. It's all part of the learning process.
And as parents, our role is to provide guidance and support, not to shield them from every challenge or make every decision for them.
It's that delicate balance between protecting them and empowering them to become independent, resilient individuals. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've explored practical tips for adjusting our budgets, maximizing our savings, and even getting a head start on college planning. We've discussed the importance of open communication and teaching our kids essential financial skills.
We've emphasized the power of proactive planning, approaching this transition with confidence and a sense of control rather than overwhelm. And we hope you found this deep dive informative and empowering.
Remember, you've got this. And before we wrap up, we want to leave you with a final thought-provoking question. What one action will you take today to start implementing some of these financial tips?
Maybe it's having a family money meeting, reviewing your budget, or simply starting a conversation with your child about saving.
Every step, no matter how small, brings you closer to your financial goals and sets a positive example for your child. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those financial conversations flowing.
So we were talking about bringing our kids into the loop when it comes to family finances. And it's about finding that balance, right? Like we don't want to overwhelm them, but we also don't want to keep them in the dark.
Right. It's about age-appropriate conversations, meeting them where they're at.
And this guide suggests a really interesting approach, framing those conversations around choices. That's such a good point. Instead of just saying we can't afford that, which can feel kind of arbitrary to a kid, you explain the why behind it.
So instead of just no, it's, hey, we're saving up for that family vacation we talked about. Or, we're really focusing on paying down debt right now.
Exactly. It gives them context, helps them understand the bigger picture. And the guide even suggests getting them involved in some of those decisions. Like maybe they can help with creating a family budget.
Wait, really? A family budget? That seems like a lot for a teenager to handle.
It doesn't have to be super complicated. The guide emphasizes making it a collaborative experience, something they can contribute to.
So maybe they can help brainstorm ways to save money as a family or weigh in on needs versus wants.
Exactly. It's about shifting from mom and dad handle the money to we're all in this together.
I love that. It gives them a sense of ownership. And speaking of ownership, the guide also talks about teaching those practical money management skills. How do we go beyond the classic save your allowance advice?
It's about making it real, connecting those abstract concepts to real life situations.
So like when you're at the grocery store, you could involve your teenager in comparing prices or looking for deals.
Exactly. Or if they're saving up for something, help them break down that goal into smaller, more manageable steps.
Yeah.
Make it feel less overwhelming.
That's so smart. Break it down, make it visual. And the guide also reminds us that learning about finances isn't always smooth sailing, right? Like we need to be prepared for those moments when our kids might, stumble a bit.
Absolutely. It's going to have, and the key is to reframe those mistakes as learning opportunities.
So instead of getting upset if they overspend or make an impulse purchase, we use it as a chance to talk about budgeting and responsible spending habits.
Exactly. It's all about guidance and support, not shame or blame.
And patience. Right.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, finances can be confusing even for adults.
Absolutely. The guide really emphasizes patience and encouragement throughout this whole process. We want our kids to feel confident about managing money, not anxious or afraid.
That's so important. It's about building a healthy relationship with money. And as we wrap up our deep dive into this guide, I think it's worth highlighting a key takeaway: financial empowerment for our kids. It's about more than just dollars and cents.
I agree. It's about equipping them with the skills and the mindset to navigate the complexities of life.
We've talked about budgeting, saving, smart spending, but those are all tools that serve a larger purpose, helping our kids become independent, resilient, capable individuals.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So it's about the big picture, folks. It's about setting our kids up for success in life, not just in their bank accounts. We've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored practical tips, strategies, and hopefully challenged some of our own assumptions about how to approach finances with our kids.
We've emphasized the power of proactive planning, open communication, and building a foundation of financial literacy that will benefit them for years to come.
And remember, you've got this. As your child embarks on this exciting journey from middle school to high school, know that you're not just preparing them for the next 4 years. You're setting them up for a lifetime of success. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those conversations flowing.